Good day, and welcome back to Common Man's Corner. For the last little while, we've been talking about first money and now politics and stuff like that. And this week, we really want to get into the political parties of Canada, the pros and cons of each one, what we think of them, and or, in some cases, maybe even what we think about the whole party system, the goods and bads of it. I know Brian has a few opinions here on parties, or lack of, or why we have them, etc. And we've all kind of agreed in the past here, a few times now, that a lot of times you're not necessarily voting just for the party or just for the candidate local to you or just for the political leader itself. So there's a lot of things taken into account there. And as Brian mentioned last week, in some cases you're having to choose between two things that should be automatic or three things that should be automatic, whatever, because each party has a certain strong point that they really want to emphasize to. So we're hoping to maybe bring some more light to some of these different things. And of course, my favorite topic on what I hate politics the most is campaign promises that, let's face it, none of them really plan to keep anyway for the most part. And like I said last time, I think if you make a promise on a campaign promise and you don't keep it, there should be repercussions brought against either the leader or the party. End of story. Understandable so that if you have a minority government where the other two can or three can team up against you and constantly keep you out of it, if that happens, you can't be held directly accountable for it not coming to fruition. But especially if you have a majority government and you don't keep your promises, you lied. To me, it's fraud. Yeah. At one level or another, you point blank lied. So, anyway, the first thing we're going to do is talk about, in Canada, I don't know how many parties are running this year. I wasn't able to find that out.
There's four major, but there's
always many spin-off ones or smaller. Like I said, I think last time was check my notes right quick here.
2011.
Yeah, 2011. There was something like 23 different parties technically across Canada that ran.
I saw a big list this time too. Yeah.
One of them had two people in the party. I think it was in BC. They had two people in the party. They managed, for no other reason other than the fact that some people simply want to go cast their ballot but don't actually want to support any of the actual real parties. So they just vote whatever. They actually managed to get something like 120,000 votes or something like that. It was like retardedly high. It was a lot.
Jeez.
Overall. And by doing this, at the time, bonus for the Conservatives, at the time, for every vote you got in your party, you were given $2 of tax-paying dollars. $2 Canadian were given to your party to do it as you needed to. So in that case, they made a couple $100,000 with no real intention to actually being a full party and making it all legit and going like the major ones.
We should start our own party.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that kind of fell through because one thing the Conservatives did once they got in last time, which I don't disagree with at all in this case, they eliminated that. So now it's the reward you get from having someone vote for your party is the fact that they voted to support you in your party.
Yeah, that's right. That's
no, at no point in time should tax-paying dollars go to support at all a party. And I agree with that. I think that's foolishness.
Yeah.
On that note, I'm going to bring up my opinion here. Maybe you guys will agree or disagree, since we happen to be talking about money for parties. I also don't think that if you were to make a donation to a political party, it should be a tax write-off. It shouldn't be at all. If you're choosing to support your political party, it's because you want them in charge for the overall effect that you think they will bring in, and therefore what you will gain out of it based on those effects.
Yeah.
At no point in time should you be rewarded because you happen to have some extra money in your pocket and dump it into supporting the guy that's going to up your business and stuff later anyway, or help your standing or social status or whatever it is that you are voting for them for.
It should be like the same as for a church. You want to support your church, support your church.
No rewards
that's a
for
whole
it.
other topic, but I mean, we don't need to. we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be giving people tax receipts for donations to church.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be for that either. For the same reason.
For the exact same reasons, I agree.
I agree.
Oh, and by the way, that talk for later, it is coming up once the political thing is over here and the elections are done. We'll be getting into churches, I think.
Yeah.
But that being said, no, they shouldn't get money.
No, I agree.
At no point in time should you get a tax write-off. Like I said, if you choose to support your church, you choose to support your
Correct.
political party, you're choosing to support them. That's a choice you are making to give to them. And then I know some people argue, but then they wouldn't have enough money to campaign. Sure they would. They just got to actually start keeping up with some of their promises so people would give more next time.
Yeah.
Because you like the way they were able to do what they did. If you are going to get tax breaks. I think it should be things for like universities or education. And it shouldn't be so that the university can have a bigger profit this year. It should be by donating to this particular school, students going, I mean, if you donate $10,000 just for a number, and there happen to be $10,000 or 10,000 students going that year, each one would get $1 off their expenses going into it, or whatever, right? Because then you are helping to further our country and
That's right.
as a whole, as opposed to one particular party at the moment. Because let's face it, guys, they're taking them dollars, they're spending it instead of spending their own stuff to get in, to get a guaranteed paycheck, and take all the big pension, all the benefits they want anyway.
That's right.
You know what? They invest their own damn money into it. They don't need... Or, if people want to give and support it, which, by the way, I'm not saying people shouldn't give to support the political party they want to. I fucking wouldn't. Not a chance.
I did this week.
Each of us have our own views.
Right. But without expecting a tax credit.
Right.
But of course, it's not much money.
Irrelevant to the point, like I wouldn't give to them. I think my support to my particular party, whichever one it's going to be, is my vote that puts them in or gives them more authority or gives them more ability to lead the country or whatever.
How come there's no system in place that just makes them all have the exact same amount of advertising power? Like, everything is based on money. That's what I just heard. There's no getting in based on your promises. It's all based on productivity. It's how much money you had. So if the Liberal Party's obviously got all this money, or all these other big ones got all this money, the little guys, there's other 20-odd ones we have never even heard of, they'll never get a chance. So, I mean, if there was a system in place that they all had equal everything and couldn't go technically above and beyond it.
I think
Is there actually a rule for how much airtime they're allowed? Or are they allowed as much
I think
airtime as they
certain
want?
ones, or certain... there are rules on how much of certain types of advertising they can do, or how often they can do it, etc. Like, certain radio stations can't... Like, for instance, if you have a radio station that's very pro-conservative party, they can't give 25 advertisements a day to the Conservatives and none to the Liberals.
I see.
They have to give equal space opportunity. Now, if the Conservatives happen to buy their time onto that particular radio station and nobody else does, then that's what there is. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right. But they can get in trouble for
if they show favoritism toward or whatever, they have to, or supposed to be. But I don't think there's a set limit on how much you can spend. I mean, let's face it. If I got enough money and I want to run, why can't I spend the extra money to try to make it better for me? My problem doesn't come with that. My problem comes using the tax-paying dollars to do it. Yeah. I think a party should run on their own damn money, and or donations to support from their followers or etc. Not from tax-paying. Or if it is going to be a set amount from tax-paying dollars, it has to be a set amount for all parties involved, and it can't be an extreme one.
Or if it was donations, all donations had to be secret. That way, nobody could get
a tax support or a special reward.
Right. Rewarded for it later. Yeah. It comes down to corporations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
Who's a corporation going to support? They're going to support
the ones that are
guys
making
with the two people in the party who are never going to make it.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to support the guys at the top with the big parties, and most likely they're going to support the one they believe helps them the most. Which you understand why they're doing that.
Which is never going to be the little guy.
Right, but you can understand why they do that. But I don't think, on top of the fact that they're putting in a party that they think is going to benefit them by voting their way, let's abolish all the environmental laws so that the oil companies can do whatever they want to the land and nothing be said to them. Or, I use that for an example. I'm not saying the oil companies do that. They do have stringent rules they're supposed to follow.
But they do.
Many times they don't follow it, and the repercussions are always like Nova Scotia, for instance.
I think if you look at the mess they're making out west.
The Liberals just gave okay for Shell, I think it was, in Nova Scotia, to wait 3 weeks before they have to cap an oil drill well in the ocean. When before they had 2 days.
It's not that they gave them 3 weeks. They approved the plan they had, but the plan they had, it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get this cap from Norway.
What does that mean though?
When you drill in the ocean, obviously, right? You got to drill a big hole in the ocean. You got to haul all the stuff out of the ground until eventually you hit the oil reservoir. Well, part of this also consists of pushing water in and stuff like that, and by doing that, you force the oil up and out.
Okay.
So once this is happening, once you got a good flow going, like you've breached the well, we'll say, like it's ready to go. Oil starts flowing.
So we're talking like BP type thing.
Right. Pure bitumen.
So they're saying it's okay to let it pump for 2 weeks.
There are these things that they have that will cap that off. And
then they can turn the flow as they need it on and off. Nova Scotia used to have it as a rule within our waters 2 days. The new plan Shell has could take upwards of 3 weeks to land that exact style cap here. And the question you have to have is, if you're drilling that exact type of well, just have the damn cap ready.
Yeah.
But, like he was saying, it could take up to 3 weeks to get from Norway or
Somewhere
wherever, to get here and get put on. And that's okay, which means, effectively,
They
for
s-
3 weeks, you could be dumping crude oil into our lobster pounds or into our
They said it was
our fisheries.
They said it cost too much to keep one local because they're so expensive. So they want to just take it from wherever they.
What is it like? Is it like specially programmed for our climate only?
No. It's
Like,
just
gee,
very
I can't
expensive.
use it here, and well, yeah, it could be very expensive, but it's not like they're not going to drill another well, right?
No.
If this well happens to not produce for them, just box the fucking thing up and ship it down to the next well you're drilling. Eventually, you're going to use it. It's not like it's an expiry date on this thing,
I think once you drill the hole into an oil well, you pretty much got to keep a cap.
one way or the other, right? You know. So, but apparently the Liberals gave permission to wait up to 3 weeks.
I thought, unless I read wrong, I thought it was an actual thing they had in case something like the BP spill happened, rather than just something they're going to need anyway. I thought it was if there's a BP type Gulf of Mexico spill, this is what they brought in to fix it. But that's
But 3 weeks?
oh, it's wrong. It's wrong. Yeah.
Okay. The BP spill, let's face it, if you're pumping out the oil for 3 weeks into our oceans, you really don't need to cap it after that. You've pretty much fucked them. At least I think. I mean, I don't know about you. I like a little oil going on, some deep frying with my fish.
Yeah.
I don't need to come out black like my motor oil.
No, you don't want
It don't taste good.
mixed in one.
And by the way, the fish is dead when I deep fry mine to eat. It's going to be dead with that one, and it's going to be useless.
Yeah.
So anyway, that kind of got off topic there.
That's a provincial thing.
Right, at the provincial level,
That's
but
not provincial.
in the end, provincial level party still gets support through and gives support to the federal levels. It does go up and down some, right? Let's face it, you got a Liberal Party in charge of Nova Scotia and a Conservative Party in charge of Canada. Who's really going to get the most support if you happen to have a provincial party that's conservative as well in, say, Quebec, just for whatever. You know, it's going to be more beneficial to support the Conservatives in Quebec than it would be in the Liberals in Nova Scotia, because, let's face it, if they're more successful here, then they're going to get more power later. And that's where having parties, though I don't know of any other system that might be better at the moment, is flawed, because it's not what's best for that particular province, and in turn, if a province is doing good, the rest of the country is going to improve some overall with it as well. It's what's best for the party, and it may not just be like I said, what's best for the area. Like if I can keep you and your party down in this particular province and make you look bad, or help make you look bad by not giving the extra support at a federal level, my party looks better. So I'm going to inadvertently help screw you in your group, and the people there, and then later on come charging in saying, now, put a PC in, or sorry, not a PC, put a conservative in there, because we were talking conservative at this exact point in time, right? Put a conservative in there, and you might have got more support. Or, put a liberal in there if it would have been a liberal
I
government.
don't see that mix between
Provincial and federal?
I think I would rather have, if we're going to have a majority conservative government, I'd rather see us have a conservative MP than have a conservative government in Nova Scotia. I actually think it'll make more difference for us down here to have a conservative MP, or whatever, whoever wins,
Yeah.
to have the same MP as who's in power. I think it makes more difference there than it does to have the same provincial government as you have
So,
federal government.
just to clarify here, the MP at our local level should match the one that's in charge of the provincial, or the one that's in power in the federal.
Federal. I mean, both is nice.
Oh, yeah, it'd be...
But I think it's more important to actually have an MP.
That's equal to what's federally being happening
Right.
versus just provincial.
Yeah.
Provincial's kind of just a stepping stone,
I just
kind of
don't think that
bypass the middleman, go right to the top.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Probably going to benefit you locally the most.
That's what I mean.
Definitely
Locally,
would.
yeah.
It'd have to.
Yep.
All right.
You have all the support.
so, do you guys, I'm going to ask you two particularly because you're right here and can answer back directly, and of course, anybody out there watching this here, if you feel free to throw the comments in there, we'd love to have them, and we can answer them back as best we can here, or whatever's our opinion at the time. Do you think the party system we have is effective?
No, really, it's just a really it's just a choice between evils. It's not you're not really choosing what's the best for the country. It's I have to choose between one thing or another. So I mean, you're always choosing the better of two evils, and who says that's the way to be governed? Like, and I have to choose between major things. Like I have to choose between healthcare or education. Why can't we have both? I mean, it's the whole purpose of a government is to be able to supply all these things, to manage everything so that everybody has everything, not so that we have to pick and choose between one thing or another.
Okay, so the party system really doesn't work for you then?
I think maybe there should be just some things that are the same between all parties. There shouldn't be a choice between education and health. Those are two extremely everybody affected things. They should not be a choice.
So
all parties should agree that those two things at all times should be funded.
So maybe make it a mandatory thing that all parties will allot automatically X number, and by X number, because we're not going to get into percentages and dollar amounts right now, but X amount to these exact 4 or 5 priority topics.
Yeah.
That can't be a campaign promise anymore. That has to be the bare minimum set.
Right.
And then after that, you campaign on the rest.
Right. On the little things.
Who says that?
But who gets to decide which 4 or 5 things?
Who gets to decide?
We do.
And who says that that money that they allot maybe it's being run poorly, and that's too much money. Maybe I think that's why we have what we have.
Then it all comes back to money, which means we have to fix the money system first.
But until that is fixed, we can't fix it all in one shot, because let's just face it, we don't even have there's not a master plan to adjust everything in one shot.
The money has to get fixed first.
You're never going to fix the money.
Oh well, then you're done.
Well,
Discussion's over.
You're never going.
You have to. Well, then why are you having the discussion? Why do we have these discussions at all? I mean, it's your plan is to fix things, but you can't fix anything until you fix the money.
Well, we've already talked.
So you can't fix any of these things until you fix the money.
We'll say that the money is going to get adjusted over time to a more beneficial way.
Oh, no.
But until that point in time,
I don't think that's what he's saying. He's talking about. I'm saying you're never going to. Not. I think you should. I think it needs to be done. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You're never going to. He wants to overhaul the entire monetary system.
Yes.
right?
Good luck.
Wow.
I mean,
That's what I'm here for.
And
That's why I'm in this group. That's why I'm talking.
The people. The people that make the decision to fix it are the people who benefit from the way it is now.
Absolutely.
True.
And that's why it's never going to happen.
Well,
I think you're right.
I think you can get the masses involved. If we can, Iceland got there. They started it. They just needed to finish it off. They needed to go the next step.
Yeah.
Right? But they would be our example to start with.
Right.
So I keep pushing them all the time. I tell people about Iceland all the time. They're awesome.
But it's Americans that I mean,
Yeah.
If Americans don't do it, we can't do it.
Pretty much.
So I mean, you're never going to get the Americans to overhaul the monetary system because that's just their.
Well,
way.
they're gonna fall
Oh,
pretty
it's
soon
gonna
anyway. So
happen.
maybe
Something may happen.
So as part of the falling, maybe the restructuring could happen then, and everybody could follow in.
Yeah.
And that's possible. But until then,
Education.
let's. I understand what Jeff was saying. If there happens to be X number of dollars being given to education, X number to healthcare, X number to infrastructure, but it turns out that, and I'm saying this very loosely, understand this, I'm just using examples, education's getting more than what they actually need to keep maintaining, but healthcare's lacking, then...
I guess all that stuff can be looked at. But
Right, it could be tweaked yearly to year, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we can talk about abuse of funding and stuff like that all you want. Just look at the Canadian Forces. I did 13 years with it, and I seen a wanton waste that you wouldn't even believe, only because it's merely convenient for people at the moment. I just don't want to deal with it. Throw it away. We'll buy more next month when we get the new budget. Literally.
Yeah.
And we're not talking hundreds of dollars. We're talking thousands and tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. And then they scream, we don't got enough money. We really do have a bad system when it comes to that. And I'm tying the money part into the government on this one, because it really is a use it or lose it deal. That if you don't use it all this year, you're getting less next year. Instead of saying, no, I want to put it back into a general pot, and then I can tap into it, because, like, for instance, if I need X number of equipment, it's going to cost me $25,000, but I only got 15 to work with this year, I got to blow that on whatever I don't get next year, instead of being allowed to carry it over for a specific
there's no built-in incentive to do that. The incentive is there for you to spend as much money as you can so you get that back next year.
and then more maybe because you've used it all.
Yeah, because if you are a government agency or a government department and you don't use the money you have, you're getting less next year.
Right.
And that's the way they have it set up.
If your allotment's 100,000 and you only use 90, next year you're getting 90.
That's right.
So there's somebody there that when they're throwing away that stuff that says just throw this away or we're not going to get any more money next year. It's just a waste.
It is. But like I said, that's why that needs to be overhauled in some ways to make... And this is a government level. The government has to step in and say, okay, stop wasting. And it's not where can you make cuts so we can have more dollars for our pensions. I'm saying where can you make cuts to spend it more efficiently so that next year when you do need a $25,000 item, you already got 10 left over from last year toward it. You know what I mean? Like, we can... So,
That's right.
just throwing that out there.
That's right.
The money system does need to be changed or will change eventually. It'll fall or
That's
should
okay.
be changed. But until that happens, we just keep going with the way things are because it's not perfect. No, we got to make little changes forward. Do you think we have too many parties? Like with the Americans, they have just 2 parties.
Well, they don't. They actually
Right.
have more parties.
Well, they do at different levels, but for the most part, they align with one side or the other, the left or the right. You know. Do you think we have too many big parties? Therefore, maybe we're being split in too many directions on where to vote, where to give support, and where to get results from.
No, I think the more parties, the better.
I think if you had more parties that were bigger, more,
Yeah.
more, it would be better.
And diverse.
Diverse, yeah.
Okay.
As long as they agree with what I want.
Yeah, right. As long
Diversity
as
is wonderful as long as it supports what we
I'm
want at the
looking
moment.
for, right, exactly, yeah.
And that may change weekly, by the way. No, just
Right.
kidding.
As
Just
long as
kidding.
they put the people in jail that I don't like.
Right. That seems to be a big deal lately, jail.
That's what government actually is. It's about authorizing other people to have the power to do things you can't.
We can get into that one here soon, but yeah, there's definitely things on that. Alrighty, I haven't heard a lot about the bloc or pretty much anything else from any of the other parties, at least not in our area.
No.
So the 4 main parties that we're going to discuss go on with here, would be the NDP, all right, the Liberals, the Conservative Party, and the Green Party. We have reps from all 4 of those in our local area.
Yeah, we do that.
Now, I've seen a bunch on the Liberals. I've seen some on the Conservatives. Not quite as much as I've seen the Liberals pushing in this local area.
No, I know.
The NDP, I've seen very little pushed on.
I think
But-
they just got their rep literally a couple days ago.
Kind of late in the game here to be
did?
throwing something in the NDP.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even read anything about them
yeah.
online.
Mind
It's
you-
like, there's no okay.
Even though, like Jeff stated earlier, provincial level politics and federal level don't always jive up here and stuff like that, I think what happened in Nova Scotia here with the last party
with
there, the NDP, half of them that do support it are doing it very quietly now.
Yeah.
Because it was just horrendously bad.
What happened?
Well,
The party got in. Once again, no promises kept, even though they bragged everyone they kept them all. Pretty much, and they just really, really hurt the whole economic system of the province. Like it was just a hack and slash slaughter of anything that was reasonable that we can tell. Well, at least that was my opinion.
Well, they
of it.
messed up. They did. They even voted out the premier got voted out of his own riding.
Yes, it was that bad that when the premier of Nova Scotia from the last time
They pretty much kicked
went back and tried again, they voted them out to get out. Well, we don't even want you. We don't want you at any level of it. But miraculously enough, just for the record, Daryl Dexter makes more money off his pensions for the positions he's held within the government than he was getting paid to be the premier of Nova Scotia. For the rest of his life, he's making more money now sitting home doing nothing than we were paying them to run our province into the ground.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
right. So
I think orange is not something that people are fond of anymore in this province.
in this particular province, although they're making some comeback and headways in many other places.
Headway, geez, they run Alberta.
They run Alberta, which is scary unto itself, I think, but that's my opinion. We're going to get into some of the points here and opinions here in a few minutes. And then there's the Green Party. I've heard very little about the Green Party in our area. Like last time at provincial or federal levels, you simply don't hear a lot from them.
No.
Now, whether that's because there's not as a big operating cost, whether they don't have as much support, or they're just not pushing it as much, or I'm not sure why. But there simply doesn't seem to be the, hey, I'm in this too, look at me, we're all involved, kind of yelling that you get from the Liberal or the Conservatives or even the NDP. Because let's face it, some of them are pretty brazen to stand up there and yell, hey, I'm NDP, let's look at me. When half of them are like, should we throw eggs at them or listen to them talk? Alrighty, so that's the 4 main parties in our area, so we're going to kind of cover those. Mainly because in our area it doesn't make sense to cover anybody else.
Yeah.
There's nobody else running.
No, I wouldn't even. Yeah, there are. I don't think there's going to be any more candidates.
And let's just bring up. I don't know, just because the first one happened to be jotted down on the sheet of paper here. Let's bring up the NDP.
Yep.
What we've generally seen for their particular platform, or some of the key points that jumped at me when I read their platform and their points and they're going with, is they want to abolish the Senate. Though I do not disagree with this point, because I really think there's a horrendous amount of tax-paying dollars being spent on an old boys club, that you got to do certain things to get into it, jump through hoops, do whatever, and if they don't want you, you're not allowed in, right? Like a typical old boys club would be. Their spending allowances are horrendous. Their paychecks are high. It's guaranteed, and once you're in it for life. So you're getting a pay, like, you have to work way less than anybody else does in any other position, unless you're like into telemarketing or not even telemarketing, unless you're in a pyramid scam and you're the guy at the top.
You're at the top.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they're illegal. But anyway. So anyway, yes, they sit on a lot of boards and they really help things move along a lot. My problem is you only have to work a bare minimum amount of days and get paid $100,000 plus a year to do this. Guaranteed. And even if you don't work those days, it's not like your paycheck gets cut. You simply get told, work more days. And we'll check you next year at the end of it. And if you haven't done it, we'll tell you to do it again. Yeah. It's sort of like saying stop, or else I'll say stop again, and I'll do it until I'm dead.
No, there's no. I don't think there's any reason for the Senate whatsoever.
Well, unfortunately, though I agree with you fully, and that's a scary thought unto itself, yes. To abolish the Senate, the provinces must agree to get rid of the Senate. And some of the provinces don't agree. So the Senate stays. This is, maybe it goes back to like Brian was saying about the vote system thing there. If the majority wants it, it's got to happen kind of deal. Sure. But the number should be higher. Right? Like we talk about 50% gets it, you get it. That's the way it is, you know? Or why should the 51 be able to control the other 49? Maybe it should be 75 or 80. I know some people like 95 or 100, but let's just face it. Maybe it should be 75 or 80. I think when it comes to getting rid of the Senate, if enough of the provinces want it gone, one or two of the provinces shouldn't be able to say no. It stays, and therefore it stays. Right? It makes the whole voting system kind of redundant to me. If any one can vote it out, we're not talking about sending someone to jail or the electric chair here with a capital punishment crime. Therefore, it has to be 100% agreement. We're talking about running a country democratically, and that is if the majority of the masses want it, the few who don't want it are shit out of luck. Right?
So you're saying that we should be able to abolish the Senate with most of the provinces?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like for instance, you know, if only 3 of the provinces or territories don't want to keep the Senate, but all the rest say no, it's got to go.
Still 70%.
It's got to go. Right? Pick a higher number maybe, but like at any point in time, if even one province says it stays, but everybody else say no, it's really got to go. Yeah. It stays. That's bullshit.
Yeah. That is bullshit.
That's not democratic. That's being able. Listen, guys, what are you all going to pay me, and I'll vote your way. That's bullshit. It's pretty much so. Anyway, the NDP has promised to abolish it, and there's just no way they're going to be able to unless they can convince all the provinces and stuff to do it.
That's true.
And the
That's
provinces
a promise they can't keep.
Yeah.
And some of the provinces have already said no, we're keeping it no matter what. Mm-hmm. So you've pretty much made a jackass promise that you can't keep. Another one that really jumps to mind is the $15 a day daycare service for kids. Because families, you know, shouldn't be penalized by losing 2/3 of your paycheck or more to send your kids to daycare in order to be able to go to work. Great idea, wonderful. I think it should be cheaper for everybody in the world to live cheaper or in Canada or have benefits. But in their plan, it takes 8 years to bring to fruition. So you're telling me you're going to start something now that's going to take 8 years to bring to fruition, but your only term, if you got in, at best is 4 years. And then you have to re-chance again to try. And on top of that, it's literally going to take multiple billions of dollars a year from the provinces, all giving it to them, for 8 years straight, before you're going to see even one seat open up. What the hell?
And what does it do? What is the...
It means that
they want to give...
If in 8 years from now, those who have children who need to put their kids in daycare in order to go to work, they can't be gouged at outrageous prices like $90, $100, $400 a day to have their kids in daycare or taken care of while they're at work. Ah. They pay $15 a day, no matter what. That's the max limit.
And then we fork the rest.
Well, what do you think? They're taking billions of dollars a year from the provinces
So
until then.
why don't we instead just pay the daycare fee a flat rate and just tell them that they have to accept kids? Like, why don't we? Because we're doing it the other way. We're paying each of these people per kid, but why don't we just pay them for the job? And they can take as many kids as they can.
Because at that point in time, it either becomes a state-run position,
Well, if we're going to pay the $15 a day, it's still a state-run thing.
Well, no, what it is
so why don't
what
we
it
control
is
it a little bit better now?
We'll say I have the children,
Yeah.
just because.
Sure.
I pay $15 a day for each of my kids,
Yeah.
but your daycare in your area charges $100 a day for kids.
Yeah.
The government's going to pay the other $85. Put the bill for it.
Right.
Now you're saying just pay it all and get it over with.
I'm saying, why don't you just give that woman $85 a day as a wage to take on as many kids as she can handle? As an example, right? Maybe
Well, it's $85 per kid per day per da
Right.
da da.
So,
da.
but what I'm saying is, as the government, I can give her $100 for the day to take care of 5 kids. I'm paying her. The government's paying her $100 a day to take care of 5 kids instead of
$100 a day or $100 per kid.
100 per kid to the one woman, and now she's making off rich $500 a day. We're losing out all our money when really she just needs to get paid for her job.
I can see how some people, just to jump in on that one, it's going to have an issue with it because then it becomes no ability for someone to run a privately owned business and compete. Right? I can't run a daycare with all my expenses, because obviously the government's going to have different expenses, and only get paid $100 a day to do it. Whereas a state one could, because they own the property, they own the building, they get to pay the power through the tax-paying dollars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no way for the smaller business to compete to make their own daycare. On the other hand, I can also support and understand Brian's thing of why don't we just have set amount set up, and that's that. Once again, because you take the jobs away from other people who are working toward doing their own jobs. Or small businesses, right? Making their own.
It's not competing. It's not you've taken away the ability to compete. You've just taken away money as the competing factor. You're looking at services now instead for what you're giving for your money. How good are the services?
So sort of like making daycare services the same idea as a police force. It's run by the government and you run in the area and you do it. I don't think it's going to work. Mind you.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if we're going to give them money,
Yep.
don't give it on a per person basis. Give it on a per business basis. It's 5 times the amount of money if I have to give it to every parent instead of just paying the one worker.
No, they're paying the worker. That worker's allowed to
job.
charge their amount for their area to get it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then if that would be a government one, that one would run fine for most people, or there could be a second one running for the exact same fee or the exact same amount.
But they couldn't run it for the same amount.
Yeah.
That's where the issue comes in. Like if I'm going to run a small business, I have to pay certain bills no matter what, and then pay the government my taxes anyway. And if I'm only getting paid $100 a day to take care of the 5 kids, and it's going to cost me $130 a day to run it, I'm not running one. Therefore, it's only the state run one, and that pretty much goes right into communism again. They run everything and control it.
Well,
It's not communism. Just because something's
It ain't
run
far
by the
off, is it?
state doesn't mean it's communism.
Well,
It is if
we have so
is-
many things already being run by the state.
when
We're
does
not
this stop?
communism.
It is if it
No,
eliminates the ability for the public to compete. Like obviously, the government runs a police force and the military because as an individual, you're not allowed to own your own police force and your own military and stuff, or you shouldn't be able to. That being said, when does it stop? Like if everything has to be run through the government, then so.
Well, that's my stance. I don't want things run by the government. I
Me
want
either.
less and less and less
Me
things
too,
run by
actually,
the
like
government, which is one of the.
I'm just humoring your
conservative
idea.
thing, by the way, the smaller government.
Thinking it through in a way.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Pay for your own kids.
Yeah.
You pay for your kids, I'll pay for my kids.
Yeah.
Which, well, that's a whole subject too.
Agreed.
But,
I can see a bare minimum so that no kid gets left behind as and then they're starving and stuff, but when it comes to getting ahead and so anyway, my biggest concern is 8 years. I got to pay you for 8 years for something that may or may not actually come because in year 7.5, yeah, we're going to go ahead and abolish that and drop that because it wasn't effective. Where the hell are the billions of dollars a year? You know what? That to me sounds an awful lot like religion. Pay me all kinds of money now while you're on this planet and we'll make sure you're better off in the next life. What proof do you have of next life? None. Get over it. Give me the money. Anyway, and then they also promised of eliminating the deficit. And all I gotta say is, what the fuck?
No, it was balance the budget, wasn't it?
No, actually, one of the things is they intend
Well,
to balance the budget now, and then throughout their term, eliminate the deficit or start knocking it way down.
You're talking about something different. Balancing the budget is eliminating the deficit. You're talking about eliminating debt. Our debt and deficit are two different things.
Yes.
Right.
But you know what? I don't think they're going to do either one of them.
No.
How the hell are you going to give all these things continuously?
NDP are a socialist party who believe in state-run everything, and they like to have their nose in everything and run everything. And
tell you what's good and what's bad, and you like it.
And they run up very high. They run up deficits. They don't get rid of it.
Everywhere they've been that I've seen in the history of it, there's been no good except for, well, the banks love them. The banks love them because by the end of it, the banks is able to charge so much more interest on so much more debt because they just spent without any repercussions of where the money's coming from to pay it off later. So anyway, but even still, they've also made mention about they want to start knocking down the actual debt drastically and be able to do it. But they're not saying how they're going to be able to do it, just, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what?
They're going to run
a lot of things are going to happen, but if you've got a plan on how, we can't bank on it. We can't count on it.
They're going to run big. They're going to run big deficits and increase the debt, and that's exactly what they do
every time. They tell you opposite, but anyway. So that was some of the key points that I took from their platform. And yes, they made promises to decriminalize marijuana. NDP talked about decriminalizing marijuana.
I didn't know they did too.
Well, I read it. Not legalize it, just decriminalize it.
Yeah.
You know, some people think it's a step in the right direction and everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm great with that too myself, but that being said, that's a step in the right direction, but what are you going to do with the repercussions? What are you going to do with anything else of it? We don't know. This is what we're doing. To me, it sounds an awful lot like I'm going to promise people what I think they want to hear, and it'll all work itself out in the long run.
Sounds vague.
Very. The Green Party, I was able to find a little bit more on their platform. It read a little easier with certain points they want to point and give out and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, with the exception of decriminalization of the marijuana, I didn't see anything the NDP said that was worth listening to. That's in my opinion. And yes, socialists just screams out radically. Spend, and fuck everything else. Anyway, so you get the Green Party. They want to bring the tax. They want to start taxing corporations back up to the 11% instead of the 9% it dropped down to. They think if you're making huge dollars, there's no reason why you should be paying less than everybody else for those dollars. You know, kind of even it out a little bit more. You get a small business making $30,000 a year, they really can't afford to give up 11% of it. But yet, a big corporation making $30 million a year, well, geez, we really can only afford 9%, guys. We're poor here. We're gonna go hungry. We won't be able to buy that third yacht.
How much money you take in doesn't mean how much money you make. Doesn't necessarily reflect how much money you make either.
No, but in the end, if my company's making $40 million a year after expenses, why am I paying 9%? But you get a small business that's doing $40,000 a year after expenses, etc., paying out the 11%. They're talking.
It is weird.
Give a smaller chunk from the smaller companies and a bigger chunk back to the bigger ones. And they're not talking those who are making 100,000. They're talking those that are making high millions, and they want to clear up. They've also said they want to clear up, or they intend to clear up, a bunch of the tax havens that they're really the really wealthy and the really big companies
that is something they
can tap into, and protects them from huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
They want to cut the cost of student loans.
Yeah.
Meaning, when they say cut the loss, they want to cut the interest on student loans as well. Which means if you're given a student loan to go get an secondary education, they want to make it so that you can't be charged interest on that. You pay back what you borrowed.
Yeah.
It's like a lock-in thing.
I can even see a small amount of interest, maybe.
Even if it was like a 1% set amount, though. Set amount. Not this here 2% plus prime that changes at the whim of the bank that you're with, as they want it, right? It's going to be a set amount, and you pay it back. So I can support that myself, because, education to me should be very high up on our focus for our young. Or anybody for that matter.
No, I agree there.
They also want to abolish tuition fees.
Well, good luck, but I hope they can.
Yeah.
If they can pull it off,
they should be.
You know what?
They're just holding up to the promise we've already made as a country to make education free.
Right. So if they even if they can't abolish it completely, if they make strong steps toward at least greatly reducing the administration fee of it and everything else, it's still in the right direction. So
because and I forget the percentage, but when you see tuition, if you see $10,000 a year tuition, the government's already subsidized a lot of that.
Yeah, it's actually 18,000 or something.
That's your portion is the $10,000, and when you see tuition fees go up, I think you'll find it's more the government slacking off on what they're paying. government does put a lot of money into
and it's far more than what it should be for these and the systems and the breaks they get, et cetera, et cetera.
I'd love to see it
broke down.
I'd love to see it free. I'd love to see everybody
Should be free,
so we don't have to rely on other countries to send us skilled workers.
Because our people can't afford to do it.
We can't afford to do it.
And I say our people generally. I don't mean Caucasian, French, English, whatever. I mean those who are already residents of the country, born in the country, etc. There's just no money due to a level of income within the family or even communities in many cases. So I'm not trying to specify as in me and mine, as in just my particular family or my creed or religious class, or I'm saying those here. Right, Canadian. They want to give more help with small businesses, and that's either through a lesser tax rate of it or more ability to tap into loans that are either forgivable or less taxed or more frequently available to get small businesses going, because they strongly believe that Canada as a whole was built on the back of small companies, small businesses moving forward, always bringing, always giving, always going, not just the big corporations which take and leave. So they want to give more help with that. One thing I disagree with, but they want to start sinking a lot more money back into CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, right, to keep it going. And they think we need to have it strictly sorry, if you're not going to be able to run a business that's successful at all, and you've had this many years to try, it is time to cut some friggin' losses here. Either catch up to what people really want to see, or understand that no one's going to watch it, and if they're not watching it or listening to it or whatever else, look at all the jobs lost. Yeah, well, look at all the millions and billions of dollars being sunk into it each year that aren't doing anything other than paying them. Pay them to stay the fuck home.
If it's a viable business, it'll be okay on its own.
Even getting some support for a while is fine.
Government shouldn't. No,
But they're talking big, and they were talking big numbers. I didn't write down the numbers. I didn't jot them down. Maybe I should have, but it's on their political platform. I disagree with that one. One thing I do agree with is military-wise, they want to switch the role of the Canadian Forces back to a more peacekeeping versus peacemaking role. As in, once whoever wants to go in and get their nose, and that doesn't mean we're going to leave our coalition buddies out to hang and dry, right? There's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes, a lot of work has to be done in support of, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done once the initial worst of it's over. And when Canada was doing that, they had a lot of respect earned, and they were able to keep up with it, and there was a lot of...
So, once we started following what the States are doing...
Then all of a sudden, everything went to hell, I think.
There are times, I think, that we should be on the offensive.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't want to become just a kind of a neutered country that we can't... all we can do is just these little... we should be able to defend ourselves, and we should be able to help our allies, and we should be doing...
I don't disagree with that at all. I support it 100%. But I also don't think that we should be walking around every corner looking to be able to throw a punch in the next fight or brawl that's happening. And that seems to be more the road that's going down more. And don't get me wrong, it's not the Canadian Forces, and it's not the troops on the ground, and it's not the people serving in uniform. I have nothing but 110% plus respect for any of that.
Yeah, but they don't make decisions.
They're not the ones making the decisions. For lack of better words, it's the politicians that fail that make the guys and girls in uniform go in and do their job.
It's like that stupid thing you see on Facebook. People put, if you don't stand behind our troops, feel free to stand in front of them. What kind of sicko made that? The troops they don't decide where they go.
I guess the concept behind it is, because obviously anybody who stands against them in like foreign conflicts, right, or in conflicts, they're going to walk. They're going to walk over. If you're not going to support our people,
I don't see it.
Then you're really joining the other side. Is how they're trying to word it. Like I think it's a bad analogy with it.
Jesus, yes.
I don't have to support a conflict,
right?
And agree with it.
I hope our troops are safe all the time.
Yeah.
I hope that there's of course I hope nobody gets hurt. But if I don't agree with us going to a certain country, I don't think I should stand in front of a firing squad.
Yeah, and I don't think in this country
what that means.
I should be told shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Either, you know what I mean? Like you have the right to be able to. I can disagree with you, and I'll tell you, I think you're wrong. You're stupid. Shut up. But I don't think at any point in time there should be any backlash against you for having an opinion about not wanting to have troops in a conflict, et cetera, et cetera.
Should always be a discussion. Everything should always be a discussion.
So either way, the Green Party kind of wants to get it back to more of the support role peacekeeping missions, go in, do it, take care of it after, as opposed to let's step in and start throwing fucking punches and see where it all comes out at the end.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I like that too. I like the idea of being.
I like the ability to do it.
Yeah, but
with your understanding, we don't have to do it.
But at the same time, I don't always want to be the guy
the
that
backbencher
never has to fight because his big brother's always there to fight for you, right? Which is what that's why we don't have to worry about going. That's why we have a small military, ill-equipped militaries, because we have to fall upon the states who are always going to defend us,
or the Brits, or any number of
that
are
they're always going to come to, right? So that's why we have such a
piss poor equipped
military.
Now, when it comes to the stature of the troops, the quality of the troops, and the dedication of the troops, I think I think they can literally stand against any other in those fields. When it comes to the equipment and their ability to carry it out, I think they do outrageous successes with horrendously poor ability or equipment and dealings to do it. So nothing but tipping my hat to those to work with what you work with. But I just think, for lack of better words, our government needs to stop sending people in. Stop mouthing when you know somebody else has to be the one throwing the punches for you. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think they're kind of going at with this. So I can give them support onto it. It doesn't mean I think we should backbench either. But we don't always have to lead the charge. We don't have to be the guy in the front holding the pennant going, yeah, follow me, type deal. And that's kind of where it seems lately. It's let's get our nose in the front line every single time too. Just not everyone has to be at the front every time. Anyway, so another thing they do is they really want to look into what the Conservatives did here recently with the two-tier citizenship in Canada. That's where if you're, okay, for a quick reference here, if you're born in Canada, your parents were born in Canada, your grandparents were born in Canada, you're a Canadian. Well, if you're a landed immigrant, or your parents were landed immigrants, you're a Canadian of a second level, meaning you can find your ass deported back for any number of reasons really fast.
After you're an actual Canadian
citizen. You're a Canadian citizen. It just came by here in the last 6 months. Part of C-51 the whole time when it was really getting loud, and C-51 there when it was getting really loud in the media. This was on the table too, and of course it kind of got overshadowed a lot. But it's an actual second tier citizenship thing.
If it's part of C-51, I understand why they did that.
Right.
They did that in case.
Or in conjunction with, so C-51 was taking all the hit and all the flack and all the media. And this here, second citizenship shit came in. If you want to make it harder to become a citizen of Canada, that's what has to happen. So be it. Whatever. But if you're a citizen of Canada, you're a citizen of Canada. End of story. Because you know what? At some point in time, everyone here landed from another country or another part of the world.
But what if you were kind of brought here? What if they planned on putting somebody in here to kind of get here, get settled, become a citizen, and maybe train people to go back over there or something. Just to
they have mentioned that in their particular party, and that is prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, including terrorism and acts of whatever. But at no point in time can you say no. You're not. If that's the case, don't make anybody new a citizen of Canada. Yeah. In which case, you're opening up another kettle of worms. If you're going to accept someone in as a citizen of Canada and make them a full citizen, it's got to be all or none. You can't say, yeah, you're a sole citizen. Ah, crap, a couple years down the road. I don't know if I really like your kind anymore. Go home. You're not anymore, or it's not a visa. You're not issuing out a fucking 6-month visa. Oh, revoked. Go home, work there. You're making them a citizen of Canada. Don't get me wrong. I think if you're a citizen of Canada, you should have your loyalties to Canada.
I don't think they're going to say, we don't like your kind anymore.
I think
they're going to say, oh, we just found out that you're actually associated with terrorists, and now we want your ass out of the country, so we don't have to pay for them for the rest of their life. To house them in jail, just kick them the hell out.
And make them somebody else's problem. Or give them the freedom to be able to go out and do their acts of terrorism somewhere else, as long as it's not in our back door.
Well, hopefully they wouldn't. But
hopefully not, but let's face it, they're going to be a terrorist, they're going to be a terrorist. Yes. If they can't get at one target, they're going to pick another one. Yeah. So it's somebody else's problem. Fuck you, world. Once we've accepted you, right? Or even worse, welcome a family in and then do this to their children. They were born in Canada. They're Canadian citizens. Like, you made their parents citizens. They're born in Canada. They're Canadian citizens. At what level? I mean, they've chosen an arbitrary number. But what level do you say, no, I'm going to go back 5 generations now. Maybe 6. Oh, Jesus, let's look at those records. They come from German descent back in 1883. But we did have that whole nasty Hitler thing for a while. Get the fuck out, boys. Or we're going to lock you up because of it. I mean, there's a certain lines you just can't cross. If you can't say, yeah, I think they're going to be good for our country for the rest of their life, say no to them getting in and becoming a citizen. But once they've sworn the oath, until they actually break the law and become a terrorist or do something like that, and at that point in time, it does become our problem and our burden to pay for because we've accepted them. You don't get to. It's like you don't get to have a dog for this week and get rid of it next week and bring another one in next week, and then it's just not the way things should be done, especially in a good society.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of people losing their citizenship over just stupider things.
Could be.
So it's not something that's new. We're already taking people's citizenships away. I'm sure of it. I just can't remember the story I read now, but it's already happening. So I mean, if you're giving things, you obviously have the power to take.
You do, but it shouldn't be on on a whole tier level of certain class citizens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a weird.
We had that before, and they got rid of it with the blacks and the whites, and they got rid of it with the men and the women, and or working toward it.
System.
Why are we suddenly bringing it back in on a tier system like with citizenship? It just doesn't make sense to me. Another thing the Green Party did, which I do support, agree with, is they want to get rid of C-51.
Yeah.
If you have to make stronger legislation on certain laws within the terrorism act of that, so be it. But you don't get to have a blanket one that just gives, Gestapo ruling.
Yeah, it's
our Patriot Act.
It's worse than it's like I make reference to it as the Gestapo ruling, and that's pretty much what it is because the last time police / intelligence services type deal within a country had this much authority to come and go and do what they want, spying on, seizing, and doing, without even having to justify it to others and or work within other law enforcement. Like, they don't even have to contact the RCMP if they're going in to do stuff in the area, let them know what's going on. They can just go and do and whisk people away and whatever. I'm not saying it's the last time, but the last time that, jumps to mind that will bring it is the Gestapo had this. And we all saw how that worked out for, those involved. Yes, it happens in other countries and stuff like that, and I'm just using that as the example, right? That's why. Quickly moving on here, because we're going to get another 10-15 minutes to our hour. The Liberals. The Liberals have promised for more inquiries and proper inquiries into the missing and or murdered Aboriginal women. I don't know if that... Well, it's a pretty heated topic. It's a very large topic. It's a very passionate topic. But they've promised more looking into it. Maybe not repercussions, maybe whatever, but they're going to look into it more than the last government has.
Yes. What do you look into?
I don't know.
When you look into it, what do you look into?
I don't know because I'm not involved in it myself.
Well, they just want they want an inquiry on missing,
murdered or missing Aboriginal
women. They want an inquiry. Well, what could the conclusion possibly be to that?
Could be a number of things. I don't know. I'm just telling you what they're bringing up. Like,
I know.
The inquiry could be maybe they are finding out that there is a certain amount of negligence because of a racial factor within the investigating companies.
And I'm sure there is. And the thing is...
But by not having an inquiry into it and not pushing it further, if there was a direct violation of the requirements, say, of RCMP or police forces or whatever, into doing their job because they were being negligent because they are racial prejudice or whatever, or individuals within, then obviously that's a problem that has to be dealt with.
I don't think that's why. I think, and I don't want to spend time on this, but I think you're going to find that there is a bigger percentage of the women that are murdered and missing are probably Aboriginal, and it's probably due to perhaps some of them being in the sex trade because the poverty in certain places where they grow up, and they get easily, swallowed up in all that. And I think, but I mean, for us to spend $25-50 million to come to that conclusion, which is a pretty
large chunk of money.
Well, it's a lot of money just to not just. I mean, it's important. They're just as important as anybody else. But I think there's probably really easy to figure out reasons why
it's happening.
And
maybe the money could be spent better fixing those reasons it's happening as opposed to looking into why. But
anyway,
we don't know all the deals on that, but they've promised to look into that more. Another thing they've mentioned, which is a pretty big topic amongst a lot of people, especially with our aging populations of that, is they're going to bring it back down to 65 from 67 for eligibility for old age and stuff. Yeah. In other words, why are we burdening the older having to work longer just to get the money they put into it to begin with?
Yeah.
When for generations now we haven't had to, and guaranteed, the guys at the top making the decision, they're not waiting to 67 to get their pensions.
Well, no.
Well, they're waiting to get their CPP, but they don't even need that because they're getting all the other pensions from us for the rest of their life that are absorbently high.
Yeah.
I know that the baby boomers are going to kill
The pensions.
The pensions. I mean, that's a fact. But at the same time, we still put our money into it.
And the idea was when we started putting our dollars into it, was we get it at 65, not having to work more and more.
The average life expectancy in Canada is 74 years old. I mean, so I start getting this, and then it's going to move to 70.
Right.
It will move to 70.
So unless you're pretty much guaranteeing me I'm going to live to be 84 now, I'm not going to get any of my dollar. I'm not going to get my money back that I put in, let alone any amount. So they keep upping it up, or they've moved it up. The Liberals are promising it, bring it back down to what they think is more reasonable, which is 65 versus 67. And some people say, well, it's only 2 more years, but 2 years is still 2 years of getting your money back that you put into it type deal. And they got no problem taking our dollars into their extra pensions.
That's old age pension. It's not CPP. CPP is still 60 years old.
Yeah. But either way, I'm just bringing that up for the number, 65 to 67. After that, for the most part, what I've seen campaigning from the Liberals, and this is not meant to show my support one way or the other, but for the most part, what I was able to look up in a quick 15 minutes of scanning and not really digging deep, Brian will be able to lighten us up there in some of the digging here in a few minutes, but it was an awful lot of flashbang, powder in the pan kind of shot out here of everyone's telling me I can't do the job, and I'm here to tell you I can do the job. Great. How are you going to do the job? I can do it. You know what, Justin? I think you're very charismatic, and your leader has potential, and some of the ideas they have are great. Unfortunately, when I ask about the long gun registry, I get mixed bags on yes, they will or no, they won't bring it back. Right there and there, you lost my vote because unless you can tell me guaranteed you're not bringing it back, I'm not voting for you. I don't care. That's just me.
I don't see a lot of stuff written in stone with them either.
Nothing.
Maybe there is, and I'm missing it, but I just don't see a lot.
When I went to their main page, I scanned through it fast, and I seen a lot of chances to see videos of Justin telling us this and Justin telling us that, and most of what he's saying is, I can do the job. I know I can do the job. I can show you I can do the job. How are you going to do the job? I can do the job. How are you going to tell me you can do the job? I can do the job.
I think you don't see a whole lot of. I mean, other than the fact that they're playing videos of what Justin says, I think that's all they have to do. I don't think they have to bash him or call him names. I think they're just going to let him talk because it seems like he puts his foot in his mouth every time he talks. Like this last week, this video here with. All small businesses are places for wealthy people to hide their money.
Yeah, like you sunk yourself there, bud. Because you know what? There's no amount of political backpedaling you can get out of there because you pretty much told everybody that has a small business, you either don't matter, even though the country was made on small businesses and his family made their fortunes throughout small businesses, also up through the big ones. You're also saying that everyone that's wealthy is going to make a small business just to hide the money from you guys. So in other words, get rid of all small businesses and let corporations run havoc, and we all better work for them. It's great if you're the owner of the big companies. If not, well, you're just a slave to them. So, much as I hate to agree with you a second time in one show here, I got to. He kind of stuck his foot in his mouth in that one.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying something earlier here on the way in here about how much digging you had to do when you were able to actually find their platform.
Oh yeah.
He went further than I did because I gave up.
Oh, most of them were easy. The Green Party had the best website. It was just.
There it is.
There it is, line after line. This is what our plan is, and
that too.
The Conservatives was maybe sick reading theirs a little bit. It was very well laid out, but it was statism the whole way. And
but how did you actually manage to find out what the Liberals had to say other than dig and dig?
The Liberals, though, man, I went to their page and it was just all nice pictures and stuff, and everything read like news articles, but there was no cut and dry. This is what we want to do, or this is what we're doing. I had to dig through their website quite deep to get to that information.
If I got to dig through,
and it was just a little link on the bottom, like in the middle of nowhere.
Nice hair, though.
Yeah, man. He's got some. I did see some of the pictures.
Am I getting hair envy here?
There was even a link that took me to all the different banners that you had seen fly by, so you could see them all, read them
again.
all. Yeah, again. Yeah.
I went on the Liberal website, and when I clicked on it, it came up, and the first thing it said, "Are you going to vote Liberal?" in the next election, yes or maybe. And I had to click one to get into the website.
Yeah. Me, I went to look at it, and I had to do a survey on what I think is help the Liberals choose what the most important. Listen, for the platform. If you're this far into it and you still haven't chosen your platform,
you should know,
I don't want to listen to you.
Too. There was a thing that said, tell us what we should be. Yeah.
Alrighty, we got to wrap this up relatively fast here, so let's get into the Conservative Party right quick. I found their initial site and some of that a little more easy to traverse and get to some of the points. It still didn't read as good as the Green Party did, nice and easy, flat to the point, there you go. And even the NDP had a better one for that, but what they're saying is just gibberish. One good thing I've seen with the Conservatives, they also promised to bring the small business tax rates down to 9% from 11%. But they're not saying anything about the big businesses. Now, they also got rid of the gun registry, and they're not going to bring it back up again. It's not going to be open for debate. It's gone. It's a stupid thing, and I agree it was stupid, and it's gone.
They brought in the common sense gun laws.
Right. That was great, and I supported that 100%. They brought in C-51.
True.
Now, just to get in here, C-51 gives authority to CSIS to not have to deal with any other law enforcement agencies if they don't want to. They have the right to spy on you in any shape or form they choose to for whatever reason without having to justify this reason to anybody but themselves. At some point in time, there has to be someone policing the police type deal, and they don't have that anymore, hence why I made the comment earlier about the Gestapo. Why'd they do it? Because they thought it was necessity to do it, we'll say. Great. And who'd they run the necessity by? Themselves. And when it was wrong, who'd they punish? Themselves. And who made the decision? Themselves. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
You're giving a friggin' carte blanche rating to somebody to do what they want, when they want, how they want.
Don't worry, I've investigated myself and found I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's an issue with that.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest point. They have unlimited access to any security or any information, any privacy they want. They can just bypass all the laws on it and all the rules on it. And all I have to say is, we suspect there might be a link to terrorism. Okay, for what reason do you suspect? Oh, we don't have to tell you that, though.
Yeah, it's
What?
Patriot Act on steroids.
Patriot Act on steroids. But presented prettier so that we don't hate the word Patriot Act. Yeah. So, in the end, they brought that in, and that, to me, sunk them onto it. If they hadn't done that, I could get away with a lot of things like the scandals within there, the spending of the death. But because you know what? The party leader can't know what every single person in his party or whatever is spending.
No, that's true, yeah.
You know, I don't blame him for that. I think there should have been more effort put in to try to sort it out on a party level, because I think it's up to you to take care of your own crew first before somebody else has to get involved. But we won't get into that part. And as for what else they stand for, I mean, they got some good and bads. I do get issues with the fact that they slashed it from 2 million protected waterways in Canada to 160 some odd or 190.
Yeah, I remember that.
Overnight. Literally. You went to bed one night, we had 2 million protected waterways and rivers in Canada. Woke up the next day, 100 and some odd.
Wow.
I mean, come on now. Yes, there are waterways is pretty much what sustains North America and go. But we're not going to actually protect it anymore. We're going to just let anybody they want in at it and just do what you want. As long as you're sending us the big dollars. Or threatening us not to. Anyway, so they've made some decisions I disagree with. Many of them.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm not sure myself on where I'm going to cast my vote yet. There are certain parties I've eliminated automatically. And in this last week, hearing some of the stupid shit that come out of certain ones' mouths, and yeah, I'll say it that way, because there was nothing but gibberish and shit coming out of their mouth. And pretty insulting, true. That unless you're a big corporation making big money, you're really just either don't exist, don't matter, or you're really just there so some big corporation other than my own can hide money. So it really makes it hard to go these ways. And of course, I'm very much against taking away rights, and I think the long gun registry or anything like that is taking away more rights.
So is C-51.
But C-51 really destroyed that too, so it's getting really tight.
I'd like to know, is there a time limit on C-51? Like, is it only good for so many years, or is it just
I don't know.
Until they take it back?
I'll have to look into it, but until someone gets, from the gist I've gotten, until a government gets rid of it, which, by the way, I got to jump in on here right quick here back to this Justin Trudeau thing, he voted in support of C-51.
Yeah.
And then when confronted, like, how could you do it, even by many, many, many of his political partners and or party members, his response was, well, we'll make the amendments later if we get to it. Or we will do this. Why did you support it to begin with? Why didn't you simply turn around and say, me and the party, because it was very clear by the amount of people in your party that was against it, stand up and say, No. Are you just not willing to make the stand to do what has to be done because it's not what's popular or not what the big boy in charge at the moment is doing? Like, if that's the case, I can't have you for a leader. And I can't see any other reason other why you would support it. So, C-51 killed it, unfortunately, for the Conservatives for me. C-51 and the long gun and many other killed it for the Liberals for me. NDP, they're a socialist party with no concept of actually leading the country other than filling their pockets or spend, and let's just see where the ride takes us. It's like a frat boy party on steroids to me, a country level. And then you get the Green Party, which I don't think they're going to have enough clout, and I haven't seen too much of the bad with it. I just don't think they're going to have enough clout or enough experience within the political scene as a party level of a large party to lead the country properly. But based on their promises, their platform has a lot of more goods than bads, in my opinion. By the way,
I liked one of them was eradicate poverty.
They're going to try to. I mean, but they didn't say they're going to do it. They said they're going to work toward and try to. Now, what counts as poverty, I don't know. But anyway, right quick here too. The Liberal Party said they're going to legalize or decriminalize and even legalize pot in some way or another, or marijuana. The NDP said they're going to decriminalize it. The Green Party said they're going to legalize it, tax it, use the money from taxing it to help pay for some of the bills and things that are, and the money that's being sunk into the battle all the time against marijuana is no longer going to be sunk into that, saving tax-paying dollars. And then the Conservatives said we're going to up our game and fight it more.
Yeah, I know.
If three of your main four parties say it's time to step back here, why would the fourth say?
I agree, and that's why I have issues with
all parties,
with all parties. But I wish the Conservatives were kind of smart enough about that. Just put more people in jail for
Nothing.
Yeah. But when everyone brings it up to them, it's kind of like, well, we're the ones in charge. Doesn't have to be that way, so be careful with that.
Harper's done a lot of stupid things in his last few years here, but
he did a lot of great at the beginning. I agree with that.
Well, no, I know.
He
if it wasn't for the Conservatives being in power since 2008, I think this country economically would have went in the shitter. I think it's a good thing that
but I think after that happened, it just, I'm on the roll and I'm not going to stop it now, and just keeps charging through everything, whether it makes sense or not. Yeah. So there's definitely some issues there. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap things up here today. We've hit our limit. I've kind of seen the clock saying, shut up, Wayne. And
everybody's saying, just
anyway, all right, guys. So that's it this week for Common Man's Corner. We'll see you here again, and I'm sure we'll bring up more points of the political parties' goods and bads. And if you really feel you want to throw out your 2 cents worth in there, feel free to throw it into the comments, and we'll answer back whenever we get a chance. And
comments down below.
Right, comments are below it.
Yeah.
We'd love to see them, and we'll answer back. One of us at least will get into it, if not all of us. And
tell us who's the most handsome.
Don't bother. We understand this. Anyway.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being around, guys. It's Wayne.
Jeff.
Brian.
And Common Man's Corner.